The richest people in the room master one question. Who am I when life gets hard? When life starts lifing? And the thing is, for most people, it's really hard to actually know who you are if you've actually never sat down and fucking had that conversation with yourself. I mean, to really sit down and be like, who am I? And most people, when you ask that question, they're like, I know who I am. You're like, I'm a badass. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm legendary. I work hard. I'm a thriving spirit. I'm a god. I'm a goddess. I'm a magician. I'm magic. I'm a witch. I'm a wizard. And you have all these labels and all these titles and things like that. And you say all these things. But what does it actually mean? If I say that I'm magic, what does that mean? Because it doesn't mean anything on its own. It sounds great, but it doesn't mean anything. The richest people don't walk around saying, I'm magical. The richest people walk around saying, when life gets hard, I'm focused. I'm able to concentrate. My nervous system is regulated. Nervous system regulation is actually an identity. That's an identity you get to own. You get to own the fact that, hey, when life gets hard, I'm able to regulate my nervous system. That's who I am. I am homeostasis. I am my breath. I am this moment. Now, this isn't to go into all this like woo-woo and super spiritual talk and things like that. I am extremely spiritual, and spiritual just means of the spirit. And at the same time, I also understand neuroscience and psychology. And when it comes to understanding who we are, we get to like really take a step back and pause and ask ourselves, not just who am I when it's hard, who am I, period. And if you don't know who you are and you've never actually had that conversation with yourself, I invite you to pause right now and go look in the mirror. Actually, take your phone with you. Take your phone with you and point your phone at the mirror so you can record your facial expressions and remember this. And if you're not near a mirror, you would actually just take your phone and hold your phone in front of you. I'm trying to find my other phone right now. So you would just hold your other phone in front of you. And for 5 minutes, just look at yourself in silence. Don't say anything. So you look at yourself in the mirror or you look at yourself in your phone, no words, and just think to yourself, who am I? And actually start to listen to the stories you start hearing, the thoughts that start passing through your mind, because this is the moment when you actually start to understand who you are. I remember a client telling me, before, like, I have all these thoughts going through my head and things like that. And, I brought up the fact of, when someone's reversing or parking their car, we usually turn the volume down. Why do we do that? We turn the volume down because it's actually so much easier to do things and to uncover things and to focus in silence. So in that moment, when you're looking in the mirror, you're staring at yourself, you're going to have all these, intrusive thoughts, and some of them maybe even super empowering thoughts come up for you. A lot of the time, they're stories. They're stories you didn't even write. And this isn't about like main character energy. Yeah, I'm all for the main character energy. I'm all for being the author of your reality. And in this moment, the identity work is to allow yourself to focus on authenticity, either being the, as my mentor says, being the most purest, authentic version of yourself, or you could allow yourself to be a blankish or blank enough canvas to where you just have enough space to just see and be in the moment. I feel most people in the world have not given themselves enough spaciousness to really just see and be with who they are for 5 minutes. And I'm not talking about, like when you're on your phone or you're eating or you're watching something. That's not really being with yourself. I'm talking about being in the silence. And I don't mean the silence where you're like, and I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to close my eyes and put my hands and my fingers like this. And I'm going to play some great music and burn some sage. No, I mean like without the sage, without the crystals, without the music, like just nothingness. Because, if we get biblical, in the beginning there was the Word. And in this moment, in this new beginning for you, there is nothing but the Word. And the Word is the inner critic. Some people may call it the ego, the id, the identity, or whatever you want to call it. there's different versions of yourself, the inner teen, the inner child, the future you is going to be speaking to you. Now ask yourself, how often do you just listen? Not judge, not critique, just listen. In Taoism, I learned that, I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not these thoughts. I am simply or merely experiencing them. And for some people, they're like, oh, it's spirituality. And allow yourself to embody that for a moment. Allow yourself to be in the moment of like, consciousness only exists when you're aware. So the practice of stepping out of being aware and being like, you know what? For a moment, I will be aware and not aware. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not these thoughts. I am simply experiencing them. So I'm aware of them. And just watch what flows through. And again, for those 5 minutes, if you're doing the 5 minutes, journal out everything you can remember that comes up for you. For me, the very first time I did this fucking exercise was life-changing, because I started crying. I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was thinking, who am I when life gets hard, when life starts lifing? And I smiled, and I rarely ever smile, period, let alone smiling in the mirror. And then I broke down crying, because I was like, wow, I'm faking a smile to make myself think I know who I am. And that's what's happening a lot of the time. We're telling ourselves like, I am strong, I am powerful. We're doing the self-rampage talks, which are great. We're doing the mantras, we're doing the affirmations, we're saying all the things. But if the story isn't believable within your own self, like at your core, it's never going to stick or land. That's just, manifestation, self-concept, law of attraction, all of these. It's even neuroscience, they'll tell you, like, you have to repeat these things over and over again. And at the same time, you actually have to believe it. It's not always about fake it till you make it. There comes a time in your life where you have to be really real with yourself in order to move beyond the thing. Even with my partner, it was really hard, because there were times in my past I had to honor I was broke, and I had to think to myself. And I remember before I moved to Austin, like, I was broke. I was living in a trailer in the middle of the Sonoran Desert, working on a farm with Workaway. And before that, I was in South America, and I was always in hostels and stuff like that. Like, I was broke. I would go out with people. I could barely afford my meal. I was getting paid to work in these places, so thank God. Woo. And at the same time, I was broke. And I've never liked that word broke, because it's like, no, I'm not broke. But in reality, I was broke. I didn't have enough money to survive. I was living off of, working and things like that. And when I was able to own that about myself, that I actually didn't have money, something awakened inside of me. I was like, I'm broke and I'm building. So I began to build. I started the YouTube channel years ago, and I started to just build. I started to just show up. I started to share my wisdom, not my knowledge, because knowledge, is just all the shit you hear. That's great and cool. And competency really does come from wisdom. So as I started to share my wisdom, then I started to actually learn who I am, because there are certain things you will say that when you hear yourself again, if you're cringing and you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that, then there may be a part of you that identity isn't relatable to you. It's not you anymore. For the longest time, I was a business coach, a money coach. And I thought that was the greatest thing. I was making 10K clients plus here and there. And then I realized this just isn't for me. This identity is the identity of some of my mentors. And I got to take a step back and realize I really, really enjoy being in play and dancing and having fun. And then, some people will go down the path of like Ikigai, and in the path of Ikigai, understanding, like, what am I good at? What can I get paid for? What does the world need? I forgot the fourth one, which is okay. You'll figure it out. I really, really understood, hey, I am really, really, really great at getting to the core root problem of things. I know people also will pay for getting to the core problem of things and obviously coming up with a solution. I understand the world needs more people to help people better understand who they are deep down inside. The other exercise for me in that same moment was, I think it was James Altucher brought up, Go back in your mind and think of what you loved doing when you were 10 years old and ask yourself why you're not doing those things anymore. I used to love writing. I used to love drawing. I used to love art and things. I used to love creating, and I stopped because my parents told me I would never make any money doing those things. And in that moment, I was like, wow, who I am is I'm actually a creator. And once I started to own the identity of being a creator, being a creator of not just my reality, but actually creating things. And I love creating things technologically wise, AI, Canva. When I started to own that, it made it so much easier to call in more clients that needed support with people to create shit for them. I'm like, I'm going to get paid to do the thing that people don't like doing, which is creating tech, creating stuff on Canva, creating graphics and things like that. When you can own your fucking identity, your zone of genius, and it also helps to have people that are close to you that can like call it out of you. One of my mentors for the longest time let me believe that I was like the business coach. And then one day I had the convo and it was like, you love dancing. You love just bringing people joy. You could actually be a coach that focuses on that, but you'll have to find the title that resonates with you. And at first I was like, that's so stupid. And then I realized that personal brand strategy and coaching allowed me to do that. What I do now in terms of like somatic self-concept allows me to do that and things like that. And at the end of the day, I had to own that fucking story. Because that story was a story that I would also have to sell to other people. If you don't know who you are, you actually can't sell the story and get people to actually rally behind the actual mission that's on your heart and soul. The mission that's on your heart and soul is the one that people will stand behind, and it's the one you'll actually continue doing. If you're making fuck you money right now, great. And at some time, it may plateau because you'll be like, I'm making great money and I'm still not happy because I don't like who I am. I don't like who I am. I don't like who I'm becoming. I don't like who I've been. And I've been there. Didn't like who I was as a soldier. I love serving my country, but I didn't like the things that we were doing necessarily. Didn't like who I was, didn't like who I was becoming. I was becoming more and more closed off to the world. As a soldier, my inner child did come out to play, but it was so rare that I had to like force it out. And then sometimes it was a mask. And it wasn't until I identified with myself being like, damn, my self-concept which is this like ever evolving perception of how I see myself, my dominant thoughts. It impacts my beliefs, my actions and overall what I'm doing in the world. So I invite you to take a moment like right now to be like, who am I when it gets hard? And if you actually don't know with full conviction, like if you're like, I'm blah, and you actually mean it, I don't swear, and you don't mean it, then start over and keep starting over and keep starting over till it feels natural for you to say. Like, you don't have to force it. I see so many people force a persona on social media and they grow a personal brand, and then after a year or two, things start getting edgy. And it really happened when I got to Austin. I started seeing people that, swore up and down they were vegan and that they were like super high vibe and spirited. And then when you're around them one-on-one, it ain't like that. And they started to crack down. And one of the most powerful things I heard from my mentors in Austin was, one of the things we noticed about you, actually this was at the mastermind in California. One of the things we like about you, Kadar, and we noticed is who you are online is who you are in real life. And that was really powerful for me to hear, because it meant like, wow, this is the most authentic version of myself. And there's still so much more, because even though I feel like I'm in the fullest expression of myself, at the same time, I'm still a blank canvas, blank enough to see the spaciousness that I get to become. And this is why 100% I created U3. I feel that U3 is so powerful, and it really does come from Price Pritchett's U2. That was like one of the things that inspired me. But U3 is past self, present self, future you, future self. And I needed to understand the past version of myself to really understand the impact that it has on the present, because I was still holding on to energies that no longer serve the happiest and highest version of myself. And in doing so, I really started to receive downloads from the future version of myself, because the future version of myself is very, very no bullshit and still has fun. The future version of myself is like, why the fuck are you sitting at the table claiming a seat they told you to claim? And I'm like, because that's the point. And I had a dream that one day, and my future self was like, stop sitting at the table, stand on the table. And I remember I was in Austin and I was talking to a bunch of people, and I just got up and I just stood on the table, and I wasn't talking down to them. That's just where I belonged. I belonged standing on the table talking to people, because my identity is I am a speaker. I'm a storyteller. I love fucking telling stories. And so I'm telling you a story now. Let that land. And remember, this story that I'm telling you, it's selling. Some of you were like, wow, fuck, like, man, who am I? I want a piece of that. Like, get in it. Join U3. And if not, do the exercise I said earlier. Stand in front of the mirror, record it, or just stand in front of your phone like I'm doing right now. And if stuff comes up for you about being visible, you don't have to post it. And if you wanted to post it, cool. But you don't have to share it with anyone. This is just a way for you to see yourself, for you to watch yourself, to see how you react when you're looking at yourself. Because you're only looking at yourself. Like, I'm looking at myself right now, and what I see, what I identify as, hey, this is someone that is so fucking inspired to change the world. I get to impact the life of one person every single day of my life. That's 365 people per year, which is phenomenal. And I know I do more than that. And that's still my mission. I am the person that's like, one person. If I can impact one person every single day, then I've done, God's work, the identity work, the great work, the magnum opus. I've alchemized, I've transmuted. I'm the great alchemist. And that's also identify as an alchemist. I understand the alchemical process. Negredo, albedo, centrenidas. Rubedo, skip one of them. It's okay. Not perfect. And that's also an identity I have. When life gets hard, I understand I am not perfect. I am who I am, and that's okay. And I will still show up. I'll still hit publish. Because my future self told me, hey, anytime anything comes up for you with hitting publish, just remember you survived combat in war zones and having to carry people off of battlefields and all those things. So hitting publish is what? Most of you have survived things so much more traumatic than hitting publish or post or send. Some of us have survived assault to the worst degree as children or adults, and yet hitting publish or post or something comes up for us. Remind yourself, you survived so much more than hitting a single button. Fucking publish it. The worst that could happen is no one engages with it, and that's okay, and then you just get to pivot. You just get to fucking pivot. So pivot. Enjoy the past you, present you, future you, and remember who the fuck you are. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you are legend. I tell myself that every day. I am legend. Will Smith vibes. Like, I will watch that movie multiple times every single year just to remind myself I am legend. And yes, it did get crazy for this dude. And he lost his dog. Super traumatic, super sad, because I also lost my dog when I was a kid. And at the same time, I am legend. You are legend. Let's go, legends. Let's get it. Let's go. Oh.